Welcome back, everybody, to ADHD and Free, the podcast brought to you by the Awareness Space Network, a podcast and social media platform that explores how ADHDers and, to be honest, ASDers, those with autism, can live their truth and feel free in their lives. We hear from inspiring coaches, therapists, and experts, plus fellow ADHDers, ASDers from all over the world who sit down with me, Owen Morgan, to share their wisdom with us. I'm a wellbeing coach and a passionate neurodivergent human who received his ADHD diagnosis at 41. That day, the truth transformed his life, or my life, and I was finally free of the burden of not knowing why I struggled so much to fit in. My mission is to explore how the human spirit and understanding our whole self can bring us a life full of possibilities. So today I'm really excited. On today's show, we have fellow Welshie, Gemma Thomas of My Neurospicy Journey on Instagram. And the reason I was drawn to Gemma mostly is because she was Welsh, and half my guests so far, by coincidence, are from Wales. And the biggest thing, she's so passionate about raising awareness, making change in her whole country, let alone just her own life. And I find that very, very inspiring. So welcome to ADHD and Free podcast, Gemma. Thank you for being with us. How are you feeling today in this moment about being on the show and sharing your passion?
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm feeling really good today. Thank you very much.
Good. I appreciate you. I reached out to you and we just got straight on it. Right. Let's get booked in and let's do this. And I love that. That's exactly how I work. And of course, just to kick us straight off. So you've got the autism and the OCD in there, but you are awaiting the ADHD diagnosis. You can tell us more about that in a moment. So I'm really, really keen to speak to people of all neurodivergent types. That's definitely where the show is heading. So it's going to be really special today to learn more about your experience for me to understand, because it's only two and a half months since I've been diagnosed with ADHD. And it'd be interesting to see in the future. If you do get an ADHD diagnosis, it'd be great to have you back on. So give us a sense of what you're up to at the moment. What does life look like? As much as it feels comfortable, obviously in regards to what you're doing with Instagram and why you care so much, and just generally your life, are you a mum? What's happening? And what, with your Welsh podcast, this is your chance. Let's set the foundations.
So I am a mum. I've been married 11 years now, and we've got 2 children. And I've recently started sharing. I've always shared about mental health on social media. So I've struggled with my mental health since I was really young. I started having support from mental health teams when I was about 9, 10 years old. And then I've always shared little bits, but I've never made it a mission to sort of put it into one place and really target trying to help and encourage other people. But after my autism diagnosis, I realised how many people have actually slipped through the net and struggled unnecessarily and feeling a little bit lost in this world. So I really wanted to target that audience and show them that there is hope and there is a life that you can live. You've just got to adjust to your own brain.
Amazing. And as you've already mentioned, or we have mentioned on the show, the ADHD may come a little bit later on. But you say, from such a young age, 9, 10, 11, on reflection now, just jumping straight in, those things you're experiencing now, as soon as you got the diagnosis, were you like, oh, right, okay, this makes so much more sense? Or were you suspicious about all of this, maybe the diagnosis much earlier or not?
I would never, ever have been suspicious of autism. I always knew there was something wrong. So when I originally went into the mental health teams, they thought I had Tourette's. Again, repetitive behaviours, and now looking back, that does come under neurodivergence umbrella. But I'd never have said autism. I'd been questioning borderline personality because I just couldn't stabilise the anxiety, couldn't keep friends, couldn't socialize like other people could. I'd get so burnt out and overwhelmed, and it was always put down to anxiety. And it just didn't matter what we tried. We tried endless therapies. I think I had like CBT, EMDR, and we tried these for years and years. And this is up until I was 30 years old. And they would continually fail. And to the point I'd turn up to like any new appointments or wherever I'd been referred. And I remember one man telling me, I don't know why they've sent you here. It says in your notes that you don't respond to therapy. And that was the day I was like, well, the mental health teams can't fix me. I'm always going to feel like this. Always going to struggle with my anxiety. I'm never going to be able to lead a normal life. And then I hit a really, really like low point in my mental health. So I got referred back to the team, and again didn't have much hope. I didn't think it was going to work. I had a wonderful person who did take time to actually understand me, and she took my case to a psychiatrist, and that was the first time they mentioned, has she looked into whether she's neurodivergent? Um, and then me and my husband looked at like the symptoms. Originally, they'd questioned ADHD rather than autism. So me and my husband looked at the symptoms, did some Googling online, and it was my husband that went, that's all you. That explains everything that we've been, battling over these years with you. So they put in for a diagnosis, and obviously because I wasn't doing great at this time, it did get fast tracked, and I had an autism diagnosis within, I think it was in about 3-4 months. Um, and then that's when they picked up then that ADHD is also present, but that there's no rush on getting that diagnosis as far as we're concerned at the moment.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I feel very seen right now because I was the same as you, no matter what I did, no matter who I saw, coaches, therapist, the anxiety stuff I was getting so like down about it and frustrated. I just didn't understand, no matter how I changed my life, you know, get a different job or do more exercise or hang around with different people or follow a new passion, nothing was working. And I hear you. It's like it's so frustrating, spending all this money and time and just nothing seems to affect you know, your nervous system and your mind, really, essentially. It just keeps doing what it's doing. And sometimes just knowing that you have the neurodivergent type is really liberating. Okay, great. So that makes more sense now. Now I can do loads of research on that. I can learn like what do other people do when they live a
Yeah.
life with neurodivergence. So in the run up to obviously because you're in such a low place, I'm sure you were sort of motivated already, but were you nervous going into assessment? Were you confused? Were you like really wanting it? Were you scared you might not get it? What did that look like in the run up to it? How are you feeling about what could have been confirmed or not confirmed?
Um, to be honest, it did happen really quick. And as I say, I was in a really bad place. I was crippled with anxiety and depression. Um, I was scared of having an autism assessment because they'd mentioned ADHD originally. It was ADHD that we'd looked at, and it resonated with us. And then when they suggested autism, I wasn't really aware of the overlap. So I used to be a child development tutor. So again, I figured I was quite clued up on, special needs and that type of thing. And child development was something I'd studied like quite heavily. So I just thought I had this picture of autism in my head, which I think is what the world now has. And I just thought, no, I'm not autistic. I can understand the ADHD because I had a lot of those symptoms, but it was as if I was too scared to look at autism. And then they sent through the forms and I started filling them in, and I was like, oh, this actually resonates more than anything. Again, me and my husband working through them together, we realized, okay, it might be. But I was so scared of having that diagnosis when I first went in. And I remember the day before, I was like, what if they do say I'm autistic? It's as if I felt like there was going to be this huge stereotype and people were going to judge me, and that it would be, I genuinely thought it was going to be a burden in my life, that it was going to make things worse and I was going to be ostracized, which is ridiculous that I felt that. But again, I think a lot of people are feeling like that. They feel like it's going to be a stigma, or they're going to be labeled as jumping on a trend now. I think that's another thing. So I was really, really scared. And had I known, if I could go back and tell myself pre-assessment how it would feel afterwards, how much of a, I don't know, I've forgotten the English word. I've forgotten the English word.
That's okay.
How liberating, I think, how liberating it would be. Yeah, that's the one. How liberating it would be after I've had that diagnosis. I would eliminate any of those fears that I had at the time.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You're so right. I think a lot of people experience, you go into it and you're like, oh, like, on your own personal journey, like, oh, this is going to be really, really important to find out. But then you're like, oh, but what will people think about this? Like, who's gonna like? You don't think this in hindsight, but like, who's gonna reject me? Who's not going to understand? And like, I've already noticed that. Like, I've deliberately not told certain people because I know what will be said, and that's sad. You know, being
Yeah.
authentic and stuff. I can be out in the world doing this, but it's sad when like, that person's not going to get it, and they're going to
Yeah.
say something. Oh, okay. Well, hope you'll be all right with that. And they only want to hear about it. You're like, okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you very much. And I just think it's a big part of it. And I think none of us would want to go into assessment thinking, I hope I don't get it because then I won't be shamed for it. I don't think any of us really think that. We do generally want to know either way.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I know I've talked about this on the show loads of times, but that the moment the email came through from the psychiatrist, because I did it privately, I was like, I don't want to open it. I said to my partner, I don't want to open it. What if they say no? And then I would say, because of my self-worth issues, I was like, and then I'll just be broken because if it's not even that,
Mm.
and that's it, then I just can't cope with the world or life, and then that would be devastating. So I don't know, however you receive the information and the official diagnosis, how are you feeling? As you were about to hear those words, were you like, come on? Or you're like, no, what was happening?
I was told in the assessment,
Okay.
um, which I know isn't very common, but she told me in the assessment that, yeah, that I was autistic. And I think even though it wasn't official, my brain still needed that official piece of paper. It did give me a sort of closure, but it was only when they sent the letter out to say, obviously, it was a full report of their reasoning for why I'm autistic. It's like 15 pages of stuff. And then when we went back for the actual post assessment thingy, where they give you all the information and explain their reasoning for why you're autistic, that was, yeah, that was when I really felt it. I think I broke down crying and I was so relieved. As you say, I'd felt broken for so many years. I'd felt like nothing was going to fix me. We had tried everything. We'd put endless amounts of money into trying to fix my mental health, and nothing was working. And then all of a sudden, to hear just a few words, and for her to tell me that those things weren't going to work, they weren't accommodating a neurodivergent mind because obviously they weren't aware of it. So all those things that I tried and beat myself up over, thinking, oh, other people can do these, they work for other people. Because we look on everything on Google, and I was looking at things going, they've got really high success rates. EMDR is something that people really respond to. I tried it for 2 years and it just didn't work. And I genuinely felt, this is me. There's something wrong with me. I don't respond to it. I'm an awkward person and I'm a problem. And then all of a sudden to be told, like, no, you weren't a problem, you were just missed. And I remember one person saying, we've let a lot of people down in the service. They were like, we've let so many people down. And yeah, it was just validating that my experiences weren't my fault. Um,
Yeah, that's a huge one, isn't it? It's kind of, you had the language then to say, oh, if you have anxiety, oh, it's my brain. For me, if I overdo it or I get overstimulated, then my anxiety, I don't call it anxiety anymore. I call it like a sympathetic state. It's like a charge in my body, like a energy
yeah,
charge. And I go, okay, cool. All right. I've overdone it. Cool. Right. So I'm going to have a nap, go for a walk. Oh, no, it's a game changer. Okay, cool brain. All right, cool, cool. So it's not you anymore. It's your brain, so to speak, which I really like.
yeah.
And can I ask, because it's come up a lot, was there any grief or resentment for you? Were you grieving what had been, what you could have done in your life, number one? And then number two, were you resentful of the whole process and all those years that were wasted, resenting all those people that didn't see it? Just explain maybe what that aftermath was like.
Yeah, this is something I've spoken a lot on, like, Instagram page and things, is I expected that feeling of relief that I felt in that appointment would just continue. And I kind of thought, right, this is going to be it. This is going to be the fix. And I wasn't expecting to hit a huge depression afterwards. And I wasn't expecting the anger I felt. And I wasn't expecting this sort of justice sensitivity that was kicking off.
Mm.
Um, because I felt really, really low afterwards because I was looking back and thinking, what would I have done different? What accommodations could have been put into place that could have helped me, and I could have had a little bit of an easier life. I know, I might have still had anxiety. Obviously, I still struggle now, but I just thought could have been so much different in my life, that I just wouldn't have had to hit those low points. So I did go through a little grieving process, I think, of looking back at everything in my life that would have been different, could have been changed, and that would have changed the sort of mental situation of where I am now. And definitely anger. I think I was looking back and thinking, why did nobody pick this up? Why are girls in particular so overlooked when it comes to these diagnoses? Because with the ADHD symptoms, you've got this stereotype. And again, I was doing it. As I said, I was trained in child development, and you're looking at people going, right, okay, you expect the bouncy child, you expect the one that's hyper, can't sit down, can't regulate themselves. You expect that of ADHD. But when you're looking at a child who is zoned out or just can't function, you're not realizing that they're internalizing that hyperness, which is what I was doing. My brain was a million miles an hour, and I'd hold it all in until I got to a safe space. And I see it with my children now, and it just wasn't what I pictured ADHD to be. And I just feel so many people have been let down, and that's what scared me, and that's what motivates me to do this now, is that girls in particular can realize ADHD doesn't look the same for everybody, and those little stims, the little anxiety symptoms as we perceive them to be, they can actually be a neurodivergent.
Yeah, thank you so much for touching on all that. Me and my partner talk about this a lot, and her as a woman too, and she just tried, with the people pleasing, the RSD she was getting from the ADHD, she just shoved it all in, and it's all coming out now in like health complications. People forget this. If your body's in a certain state for too long, especially sympathetic, releasing all cortisol and stress hormones into your system, it's going to actually affect your immune system. So over time, it's really going to start impacting your general overall health. And I think our body is kind of telling us what it wants in a way. It's like, hey, can you help me out here? And then there's things you have to do outwardly with your body, and with things you need to say, or if you need to sing out loud or hum or whatever it may be. The body's like, hey, let's do this. And you're like, no, sorry, we can't, because we'll be ridiculed for it, or people think we're stupid or whatever. And then we're just suppressing all this stuff. And it's heartbreaking that we can't just be our authentic self. And that's what we're doing here. ADHD and free, or ASD and free, is all about being able to live freely and be who we want to be, which is just so, so important. I'm noticing with all of you so far, this justice warrior thing, we're really starting to coin this label on the show, because it's all of us just out there fighting the good fight, like, nah, we're going to support our community. We finally have a community, people who are like us, who get it. And it's just the best thing in the world, being surrounded by other neurodivergent people. It's the best. And we will be out there helping them, supporting them, raising awareness for them. And you're obviously driven by a lot of that. But before we touch more on, what you're trying to do out there in the world, as of today, then, so you're saying, obviously, logically you still have the anxiety stuff. So in the present day, how is it all unfolding for you now? Is it become easier now you're aware of it and you can work with it and see it? Or is it as much the same as it was, you just can live with it easier? I'm just trying to get a sense of that.
I'd say I'm in a state of acceptance now. It hasn't really changed. I think a lot of damage has been done to reach 30 years old. And not realize you're autistic or ADHD. There's a lot of years there to unpack, I'd say. And I'm not done with the looking backwards yet. And I wouldn't encourage anyone to look backwards, but I think as a process, I do have to go, okay, the way I think about this might be based on experiences I had when I was younger, where I wasn't accepted or where I wasn't included. So you are like gradually unpacking the experiences from your childhood that have scarred you later in life. Because I think like a common experience that we all, like, as you say, we're a lovely community and everyone's so supportive. And we share this common experience of where we've had situations where we don't fit in, where we've been trying to speak to someone and we've fallen flat, where people haven't understood us. And that is what I've really struggled with, come into terms with who I am without the mask, without pretending to impersonate other people, without people pleasing. I'm trying to completely be my authentic self. But it's really hard to let go of that mask that you've worn for so many years, that has protected you for so many years. But it's damaging. I think a lot of people feel, well, if you can mask, why don't you? And something that we do is really well is masking, but they don't realize the damage that does to our mental health. In order to be in a room for an hour with a lot of people that I need to please and need to pretend to be something else for, I might have to recover for that from that for 2 days afterwards, where I just need to sit and do nothing. And that's not fair for me to have to miss out on massive chunks of my life just because I've had to put myself in a situation where I'm uncomfortable. So it's accepting that it's okay to say no, and that it's okay to unmask, but it is a really hard thing to do.
It certainly is. And what came up for me there, thank you, is sense of self. So, I did it a lot. The masking is, you kind of like performing a little bit. You're kind of like performing a role. It's still you, but you're having to add this bit on top. It's like you're half acting. It's like you're half in a film where you're playing your true story or something, but you're also having to be an actor at the same time. And for me, I started to lose track of what I cared about or what my values were, because I was saying stuff that wasn't true to fit in, to like, oh yeah, no, I like that too. And it's like, hang on a second, I'm not even getting to like live my truth at all. And you sort of, for me personally, after 20 years, I was like, I don't even know who I am, what I like, what I'm good at, things like that, because you're just trying to fit in. So did you have any of that? It's kind of like you performing a masking to a point where you kind of lose who you are a little bit. Did you have any of that?
Definitely, yeah. And it was felt like I was in a constant battle between my core values and what I believe to be true and myself, um, and then what other people wanted me to be. And one conflict I had, so one thing that's huge with me is lying. I've got a massive issue with lying. I would rather it doesn't matter what the truth is. I would rather you tell me the truth than lie to me. Um, and for me personally, it's always been a massive. As a child, I would obsess over not lying. So if it was something had happened, I would say I think after it, because I'd be so scared that I've perceived that situation wrong, or said something slightly wrong, and that would be a lie. So it was borderline an obsession with me that nobody lies to me and I'm not to lie. But then I'd find myself in a room full of people and I was lying to myself. And it wasn't something that I felt it was a safety measure. It was something that I had to do in order to survive. If I wanted to keep friends, if I wanted to fit in with other people, if I wanted to succeed, if I wanted to, follow my career and things like that, I had to do this. But then the anxiety it was causing me, because I was like, but you don't believe these things. You're laughing along with these jokes. You're engaging in these conversations with people who are completely against what you believe, and then you're becoming this person. And friendships wouldn't last. They wouldn't last for long. It was as if I could fit in for a certain amount of time before that need to be myself just broke out. And that's when I'd lose friends. And that's what I mean by the damage that's been done now. Because even now, since being diagnosed, I've got a lovely group of friends who know I'm autistic, who know who I am, and I can be myself with. But I still really battle with that feeling of, are they going to leave? Are they going to walk away if I show this side of me? If they see that some days I can't socialize, if they see that some days I have to lock myself away, if I say something weird, if I, show how excited I get. Like for me, I get really excited about certain TV shows. And I'm like, if I'm texting them going, have you seen what's happened on the show today? And it's something so trivial to them. Are they going to walk away? And I still battle that anxiety of, am I going to be accepted for who I am?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say there's nothing trivial about what you love and you're passionate about. It's the best. It's the best of people.
No.
When you see something they really care about, it's so infectious and so amazing, no matter who it is. So, I absolutely adore my
I
movies
know.
and, have a
It is
podcast about it. And I could
lovely.
talk to people about films all day. Some people don't even watch films, so I just don't speak to them about it. But it's like, it's fine. It doesn't even bloody matter. I got more important things to do like this show. But I'm like, no way. I'm
No,
turning up every week and I'm doing my movie podcast because I bloody love.
this is it. If it makes you happy, and this trying to explain to someone like My current one is Pobl y Cwm. It's a Welsh soap opera, and I'm honestly, I just want to watch
Mm.
it all day, every day. I want to watch all the like extras, the specials, if they show repeats. Um, and it just feels so cheesy when I'm telling someone how
Mm.
much I love this show. But you're trying to explain to them that when something makes you that happy, it gives you this warm and fuzzy feeling inside. You're watching it and it's like a massive, it's like having a hot chocolate and a comfort blanket. But they don't understand how excited we can get over our little interests.
Not to mention the dopamine that it gives our brains, and our brains are already, low on the dopamine to begin with. So why would we not want to
Yeah,
fill our lives with things that provide the dopamine that our brain really actually just clinically needs, physically needs, which is so, so important.
exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? All the math stuff's very, very interesting, and the sense of self and our self-worth as well, feeling good enough. So we'll touch a little bit on that. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but for me, self-worth was one of the biggest issues. I didn't know until after diagnosis, and partner and other people said, I've always known, they've always seen that my self-worth was crap. So even though I do amazing things, and yes, I do amazing things. I've been podcasting for years, doing good stuff. But I still just thought I was a piece of shit
Mm.
because I couldn't control my anger or my anxiety, or I couldn't use I couldn't use the phone, too scared to phone people. I hate going on public transport, it makes me feel so uncomfortable. So I can't do all these basic things that I need to get done. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing at 40 when then I couldn't do these things. So in the background, it's like I'm not a real adult. I'm like a child still that's too scared to do things. It's devastating. So what was your self-worth like in with all of this as well?
Yeah, my self-worth is definitely terrible. Um, it didn't matter what I achieved. It felt like I couldn't achieve enough. Because I was looking at the things that the world considers to be, a celebration and achievement. So, I did really well at school, passed exams, got into uni, had to drop out because of anxiety. Then I had a really good job. I did like on the job training. And I just felt like I was always chasing the next thing. I got married, I had kids, and obviously those were huge achievements. I love my children, I love the family that we've, this little life that we've got. But it felt like I was never enough. If I was a mum, why wasn't I working? If I was working, why wasn't I being a mum? And then yeah, it was just, I was comparing myself to everyone. I wasn't even looking at one person and going, right, that's the life I want. I was looking at everybody and going, how are they juggling so much and not getting burnt out, not getting stressed? Whereas, as you say, I would get, if I did a small task, I couldn't cope with it. Going to the shops, like going out in public I was agoraphobic for about a year. And even like setting foot off my doorstep I couldn't cope with. And I was like, I'm getting scared leaving my driveway when other people my age are, graduating and they're going on holidays and they're getting on planes and having these wonderful experiences. And I just felt trapped in everything I was doing. So I felt completely worthless. Like I didn't deserve my space on this planet. And to be honest, even after the diagnosis, that mindset has been so ingrained in me. I don't think it fully goes away, but I'm now recognizing it as more of like an imposter syndrome kind of feeling where I started doing podcasts, I started doing Instagram, and I still get days where I look at them going, why I'm not good enough. I'm not, who am I to do this? Who am I to tell people that there's these tips, there's these things that can work when I haven't got it sussed myself. And that's why I am so passionate and so open on the show, on whatever else I do, that I'm not perfect. I'm learning and I just want to be me. I'll share my story, I'll give advice, I'll get things that I've learned from other people, but I'm not being hypocritical when I still have days that I really struggle with my mental health. I still feel worthless. I still feel like, what am I doing? I'm drowning. I don't deserve this platform. I don't deserve to have these opportunities to talk to people. But yeah, it's kind of finding that balance to get rid of. I don't think you ever get rid of that low self-esteem that has been ingrained in you from such a young age. It's a really difficult thing to shift that mindset. And yeah, it all walks of life now. I still feel like, oh, people are looking down on me, people are judging me.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure there's people listening that like, oh my God, yes. I just want to say to them, like, it's normal to feel that way about this. You know, we don't quite fit in society from their perspective. They don't quite see that we maybe we're a burden to them, or we are difficult, or we are. So just want to send you all love if you're listening and you're feeling that way. It's totally normal. Me and Gemma have both experienced this, so don't don't worry. There are groups out there, neurodivergent groups, all over the world. So yeah, just look out for them. See if there's one that feels really really nice for you. So just for anybody that's listening. Yeah, so thank you, Gemma. It's such a huge thing. And I think it's just, like you said, it's not something that really essentially goes away, because neuroplasticity is just the way your brain's been trained. You can retrain your brain over time. You can use neuroplasticity to change the way your brain sends signals, things like that. It takes time, it takes a lot of practice, but the way you've reacted to things over and over again is wired in your brain. So you have to rewire it in very specific ways, and that takes obviously some research. So it's just honoring that, because people like me and Gemma can still do these things that we're doing right now, which is really like, seems really, extrovert. Hey, we're out there doing podcasts with strangers, and we're on Instagram risking being rejected by doing videos, things like that. But we still do it because we are really passionate about it. And we will take the hit if it comes, and we'll do our best to deal with it. But it is normal for us to feel this way about ourselves. Really, really important to know that. So just to spin it a little bit, tell me, because I saw you talking about the Welsh soap opera, and I saw your glow, I saw your lovely smile, and I saw the energy shift, because this is a very intense chat we're having. It's very deep, and it's very emotional. So what about you do you like? Come on, tell me. I want to test you here. Go, you can do this. What do you like about Gemma? What, no matter how small, like, what do you celebrate about yourself? I celebrate all the shit that I have done, considering I was ND and didn't know. I'm like, bloody hell. Even if it's projects I've started and stopped, I'm still really proud now. I've got to a proud point where I'm like, fair play to me for pulling that off. So shout yourself some love, please, if you can, if comfortable.
Kind of the hardest thing to do when you are neurodivergent. You just be like, okay. Do you know what? One thing that I definitely do love, and doesn't matter how many times people tell me, this is because of being neurodivergent, I'm like, do you know what? Don't never take my autism away then, is my justice sensitivity. Because as much as I absolutely hate the impact it can have on you when you see someone struggling and they're being treated unfairly, it eats away at me completely. But I would still rather be the person who defends the victim and defends the one who is struggling and being treated unfairly, because that is one thing I've always liked about myself, and speaking to people around me that they would pick up on. I will sit with anyone. I will sit with you at 3 o'clock in the morning. If you're struggling with your mental health, I will come and I will just be there. There will be no judgment. I'm more than happy to support people in their mental health. And I think that's why I try and push through everything I'm doing on social media. I've always had a passion for mental health because I've struggled massively. And there just isn't support out there, in those 3 o'clock mornings. As you say, for neurodivergent people, phoning, accessing services can be extremely difficult. And this is one thing, I'd be talking to the professionals and they'd be like, you're not going to phone, are you, if you're in crisis? No. And I was deadly honest that I know for a fact, picking up that phone and telling someone I'm having a panic attack or I'm really struggling was impossible. So everything I've done, I've had to learn through Google, being able to search things myself, read other people's stories. And that's why I am, as you say, I'm able to push through, despite the fact I might go on Instagram, I might get ridiculed, I might completely fall flat. But if I can help one person, if one person reads my post and goes, do you know what? Yeah, there's hope. I'm going to wait. I'm going to stay another day. I'm going to try and get help. I'm going to try and learn how my brain works rather than beating myself up and hating myself. Even if one person does that, I'm more than happy to put myself out there. And that's one thing I'd say that I do like, defending the not the middleman, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but defending the people who are really struggling. Yeah, it's one thing I'm really passionate about, as well as the Welsh language.
Yeah, no, especially, growing up in Wales with my family, the passion for being Welsh is really special. In England, it's not so much like that, really. In America, like that too. Americans love that they're American. And I'm like, fair play, that's great. I wish we had more of that here. But anyway, going back to what you're saying, I think when things have meaning to us and it matters to us, if it's meaningful and it matters, we are motivated. So all your M's, it means something and it matters, we're motivated to get out there and do it. And you're right. If we see something that ain't right, we're jumping in and say, hey, hey. So even though someone like me hates confrontation, I hate it so much. It makes me so terrified and I shut down like a little snail in a shell. I can't cope. I will bloody go for it if I think it's important. What a weird combination. I'm terrified of confrontation, but if I see something that's not right, I'm getting in there and I'm getting it sorted. That's so cool. That means it must.
Yeah. It's what you can do for
Yeah.
other people, isn't it? That's what I find as well. Like something I'd never stand up for myself, but since becoming a mother as well, I'd say like before I can't imagine ever walking into a school and being like, something is wrong, something is, this hasn't been done right. But now I'm so defensive over my children in the same way I am my friends and my family. It's just crazy things that I would never dream of saying if I was standing up for
Yeah.
my own needs. I wouldn't tell someone like you've upset me or you've hurt me. But if someone upsets my children, I'm like, no, this is wrong. You need to you need to say sorry. And the same with my friends or my husband. It's just how that mindset shifts when you go into like a defense mode. You want to make sure that other people are looked after. But this is a really important point that we do forget to look after ourselves. It's something that I do all the time. I can sit there and fester when someone has hurt me and I won't tell them. I will just, I'm an over apologizer. If someone has done something, even though I don't feel I've done wrong or I didn't mean it, I'll just say sorry, 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 sorry. But I'll never hold them accountable for something they've done to me. We can put ourselves to the bottom of the list, unintentionally half the time. But it's something I definitely do a lot of. I ignore my own needs, but I'm very quick to defend other people and support their needs. And it's not always a healthy balance.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's more to lose, though, isn't there? When it's about us, there's more to lose. You could lose the friendship if you say, "Hey, that's not cool. You did that." Whereas if you're defending someone else, there's not as much to lose because you haven't that person that you're saying, "Hey, stop doing that," aren't as directly linked to your overall sense of who you are because they're a big part of your life. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Especially
Yeah.
with families as well. It's very difficult when you're in a family unit and things aren't going as you think they should, and it's really hard. It's oh no, why do they have to be family? Especially if it's really problematic. You're like no, I wish they were my
It
family.
is, yeah.
But yeah. Okay, what I'd like to touch on now is obviously you're doing this amazing work on social media. You are trying to basically, I think, get your country to sort itself out, and, the health system and everything else. I mean, there's only so much we can do. So obviously we've talked about Justice Warrior. We know why we do it and why it matters so much to us. So what are you hoping to achieve then with everything you're doing out there in the world for your community? What's your hope? Like you said, helping one person that listens is enough. But beyond that, what would you like
Yeah.
to see change? What would you like to see change, actually? Is it the education system, how our children are treated, how adults are treated with diagnosis? What's your mission?
Education system, 100%. As I said, I've worked in it. I've got children in it, and this is something I want people to recognise the masking community, the children that are really struggling but falling between the lines. Um, that's something I'm really, really passionate about, is educating people about how autism doesn't look like what we maybe have seen on telly over the years, or ADHD. It doesn't see, it's not that typical stereotype that we hold in our mind's eye kind of thing. Um, so that's something I do a lot of work in, like the English community as well. That's my main platform where I use Instagram and just want to raise awareness, want to share my own story. I want to just offer like tips and advice for daily living and just daily management of ADHD or autism. But yeah, the newer thing that I'm doing is we're really lacking resources in Wales. Not so much, obviously, we have access to all the same resources as people have in England, but for Welsh speakers, that's maybe the language that we've been raised with. That's the language that we're more comfortable speaking. And then there's not many resources available where we can actually listen to podcasts like this in our own language, read articles or whatever. So there is a charity that is doing this now, and I've sort of been in touch with them. And we have started I've started a Welsh podcast speaking all about mental health, not just neurodivergence. So to give people that opportunity to hear, to offer these things in their own language. Because, it's just being fair to them, if that's where they're comfortable. When you're speaking about mental health, it's such a vulnerable place to be. And there shouldn't be that barrier of having to translate in your head or listen to something that maybe you're not particularly familiar with. Because I think people forget that in Wales, even though, we do speak English, for a lot of people, Welsh is the main language they speak daily. And I just wanted to offer that opportunity to them as well.
Yeah, it's kind of hearing things in our own voice, isn't it? Language is so much about that. Hearing it in your language is hearing it in your voice. So you get to be much more connected to it,
Yeah.
And not having that barrier there. And I think it's amazing what you're doing with that, because, even as someone that's lived there before, but lived in England for 20 plus years, I'm still ignorant to how much I know about how much language is thriving or not thriving, or where in Wales it's happening, where it's not. Because when I go, the Welshies will switch to English for me, no matter what or where I am. So I wouldn't have any idea of how much it's spoken. So I think anything like that, when I was a kid, all I remember is just S4C. I was like, oh, S4C, that's the place you go if you want to get that. And that's not bloody enough, is it? It needs way more than that, just one channel. Which
That's it,
which is such a big thing with that. So it's amazing doing that. I will put in the show notes links to everything that you're doing, but we haven't finished yet. But I just want to let people know they will be in the show notes. So with the education system with the kids, how do you feel about it? Because for me, I feel like this generation now, so my stepson's 8.5, he's just been told, he's not been told, but we've been told he's clearly going to be given a diagnosis of ADHD, but we have to go through the process, we have to wait, and all this good stuff. But really powerful for him. I'm so excited for him. By 9, he might know. It's better than 41, isn't it? My 41. And I'm so excited for him, because we're going to be able to put everything in place that he needs, and he's going to be able to thrive earlier. I still kind of thrived a bit before diagnosis, but he'll be able to thrive from the get-go. So, with your own children especially, how are you feeling? Where are we at right now? I know people talking about it more in the schools, and the Zenko sections of the schools are doing better, but we are way behind. We're still nowhere near it being just a generic, boom, assessments for kids. Every kid, you start a new year, and every kid has the opportunity to maybe at least have an attempt at an assessment, just see what's happening for them, to give them a chance to know. So where are we at? How do you really feel about it? Let's get Justice here. Are we any closer?
We're definitely closer than we were when I was a child, when you were a child, kind of thing. And there is progress. And I mean, ultimately, this is why, we can talk about it all we like. It does come down to funding, and it does come down to what the government offer. And schools are overrun. The education system, if you ask me, the education system isn't working. We're living in a world now where we're accepting everybody's different. We're accepting people's minds work differently. We're not just talking about neurodivergent people. Every single person has a different learning style, has a different preference. We've all got different skills and talents, yet we are still sitting group of 30 to 40 kids in one class and expecting them all to tick the same criteria. It doesn't work. It's never worked. You're always going to get the people who fell through the net because they were the sporty type who wanted to be out and oozing their energy. And then you've got the ones who can't sit down at a desk but would learn if you gave them a tape measure to go and do practical things, We're not able to accommodate all of that within the education system with the budget and all of this at the minute. But I think there does need to be more understanding and acceptance of the fact that not everybody shows these anxieties, these needs on the surface. And I think this is where there is scope to change. It really it does annoy me really to see that children who are disrupting the class day, if they are visibly, causing a problem, if they're showing aggression, if they are swearing or getting violent in the class, they're showing their frustration outwardly, schools will step in because it inconveniences their day. It's obviously, it can pose a risk to themselves or to the other children. So they step in, quite rightly so. But when you've got a child who goes into school every single day terrified, absolutely petrified, doesn't learn a thing because they're just holding back anxiety, they are in sensory overload, they come home then. I'm speaking my own daughter, she suspected ASD, she's been waiting for 4 years. And she goes into school every day, holds in this anxiety. As soon as she comes home, it's like an explosion. Whatever has bothered her through the day comes out. And we get it at home then. All these frustrations, the sensory overload, and we have to regulate her after 6 hours, 7 hours of being unregulated, uncatered for, unaccommodated in a building where she doesn't feel safe or secure, or doesn't feel like anyone's listening to her. And I think this is where we need to change the system. We need to allow reasonable adjustments for children with no agenda. If a child needs a chew toy, if a child needs ear defenders, if a child needs a wobble cushion, if a child needs a swinging bar on their chair, if a child needs to get up and go for a walk occasionally, accommodate it, because that 2-minute disruption to your day where a child needs to go and do something else will help them learn in the long term. And I think this is a huge problem in the system. And listening to parents. I think another thing is, parents can go in endless times and say, my child comes home and they're overwhelmed. They're not coping in school. And they're like, oh, but she's fine in school. She's so happy, but she's this. And then you get a report coming, oh, she's the quiet child. She never causes any bother. And it's just because they are the quiet child who's not causing them any trouble, their needs aren't being met, which then in adulthood, as we know, that's when the problems will start, because they are learning from a young age. I'm really passionate about what we are teaching our children for the future. So when I'm parenting, obviously we don't do it, we mess up, we make mistakes, but when I'm parenting, I'm like, okay, what moral and what lesson has my child learned there? So I don't want my child to go into school and be made to feel that meeting other people's needs and pushing herself into a box is more important than saying, no, I need 5 minutes. My body is telling me this is what I need, and that is my priority in this moment. And I think that's what the education system is doing. We're teaching children that fitting in, going with the flow, going with the society's needs, and accommodating other people feeling comfortable is more important than listening to our own body. And that is something I really want to change. I want teachers, any educators, anyone working with young people, to be thinking outside the box and thinking, right, this is a work lesson maybe, but the lessons that I'm teaching this child in this moment is going to stick with them lifelong. And what morals and what self-worth am I establishing in that child by responding this way, by reacting in a negative way? Whereas if I say, yes, okay, you need this, we're going to support it, you're creating a healthy individual in the future.
I love all of that. Thank you so much. So much passion. I love it. And, for somebody who has been with my partner, Carla Joe, who worked in the school system in the Zen department, do mindfulness with the children. And it was just the most beautiful, amazing experience doing 6 to 8 week mindfulness programs with the kids from year 7 through to year 11. And what a special time it was for her. But the frustration of being in that system, oh, God, it's just heartbreaking if you're in there, actually working on the ground there. Oy. But I would say, as we have said before, especially it's similar to NHS really, it's the system that's broken. Like it cannot accommodate because they don't put the resources in place. There's not enough TAs. There's not enough budget to make that happen. There's not enough budget to bring in experts. Can you imagine a neurodivergent expert in every school that the kids can go and see and hang out with to support them? That would be amazing. But as we know, with our governments, the system is broken. They're not putting enough attention on it. This is the future. This is the future generation that can make our countries thrive and do really, really well. So surely we want to teach these kids about being your authentic self and following your dreams and doing what matters, and suddenly the countries will become a much more functional and fair society. And it's like NHS, it's not, I don't know what we're supposed to do if there's no budget and there's not the resources or the right people, the right training. And we're all humans trying our best, whether we're teachers or in the healthcare service or in retail or whether we're in business, whatever it is. It's having enough access. Access is the key word to these things. So it's hard, isn't it? It's like, what are we supposed to do if the foundations aren't being provided to us? They're not giving us the tools we need. It's like going to renovate a house and like, sorry, can't give you the hammer, the drill, and that. You'll figure it out. Use some sellotape or something. It's basically what's happening, isn't it? We're trying to sellotape the school
It is,
structure.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. Yeah, and I think, yeah, as I say, the basis needs to change and the actual system needs to change. But in accounts like these, there's plenty of books out there now of hearing the late diagnosed people speaking. And I think that's where teachers could maybe get a bit of motivation if they just listen to one person's story of someone who has been late diagnosed and the impact that's had on them, to realise, okay, we need to be accommodating children from a young age. They still have the power to make a difference in the classroom when it comes to how they respond to things, how they word things, how they speak about things, and being open about these things. I had someone on my podcast the other day. She was a teacher and with ADHD. And one thing she said, she was like, I was honest with the kids. If the kids asked why I had certain accommodations, I told them. And I think we need to stop this. Teachers, they're perfect, they're ideal. Just be honest with the children. Show that people think differently. If a teacher needs an accommodation, explain that to the children. There's such a stiff upper lip sort of attitude in our society, I think. And that needs to just come to an end. Nobody's better than anybody. And we've all got certain struggles. And we need to be teaching these children that it's okay to struggle and you have to listen to your own body over anything else. Yes, you care for other people. Yes, you love other people. But if your body is telling you you're not comfortable, you need to have that freedom and that power to say and advocate for yourself and say, I'm not doing this. And that's where schools need to, if children are asking, can I be removed from something? I know accommodations are difficult, but most schools do have some sort of hutch sort of area now where they can go and decompress. That needs to be supported, that needs to be encouraged, and it needs to be accepted that children aren't machines. We can't work flat out every single day, even when we're feeling ill, try and gain 100% attendance and all of this. It's not practical. We're expecting more of our children than we would expect from ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, this the school day. You actually think about it, it's like it's absolutely insane. It's 6 or 7 year olds. Oh, by the way, you're going to go in from 9 till 3, and you're going to learn all this relentless information. And obviously, yeah, go around, run around. But then you go into secondary school, and you're like, what the actual hell? Like, if I had to get up every day and learn 5 different subjects now at 41, it doesn't make any sense. Well, how would my brain be able to absorb that much information in a short space of time? Like, I'm doing a
Yeah.
degree now just on one topic, and it's been the most amazing experience. Do you know why? Because it's one thing. I just get to like deep dive into this one thing that I love to learn about, and it involves other elements of things I need to learn. But doing this graphic design degree is something that I
Yeah.
love, and I'm going to thrive in it. And I'm going to have to learn about the mathematics of the layout of a poster. You have to think about the dimensions of where things land so it appeals to the eye. So I'm learning about spatial awareness and the mathematics
Yeah.
of all of that. I know it's not logical that they can only just
Yeah.
do one topic a day, but there must be something we can do.
No, but it should be encouraged, I think, as well, that the problem with the school system, if you've got a child that's good at English and slightly, less strong in maths, say, they would be hiring a maths tutor and cutting out the English lessons. Whereas it should be the other way around. If a child is really passionate about English or language, and that seems to be where they're thriving, encourage them in that direction. Of course, support the maths needs as well, but don't go, right, we're going to, do less English in order to support you gaining strength in maths. If that's not where their interest lies, they're not going to thrive. I remember me for art, I can't draw to save my life, okay? I'm not creative. I am very much black and white thinking. I can't look at a piece of paper and go, right, okay, I'm going to make this into something amazing. And remember arguing with my art teacher because I was made to do art. And I kept giving the same piece of work in, and he was like failing it and do it again. I was like, it's not going to get any better. And he was like, yeah, everyone can learn to draw. I was like, but it's not going to get any better. And I don't believe everyone can learn to draw. It's not something I'm interested in. I would much rather go and sit and write an essay or go and learn, read a book. I'm really passionate about language and using words to like articulate yourself. Um, and yet I was forced to sit through design and trying to sew and things like that, and it was hurting me because I was so bored, I was so overwhelmed by trying to do something that I couldn't do, and then continually being told, yeah, that's not good enough, you need to do it again. It's not going to get better. This is my capabilities in this, but if you give me an English lesson, I'm going to get you an A-star straight off the bat. And this is where we're going wrong as well. We're pushing children into things they're not comfortable with and ignoring their strengths and abilities. That child that you're trying to pull out a sports lesson so they could learn could be the next Olympian for Great Britain or whatever. And yet you're trying to quash that natural talent and strength that they've got.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you're right. And I think that's why adult education is so awesome. Go to Open University and it's all on your terms. It's the best. I can't share how amazing it's been. I'm in my first year now and it's just the best. I never thought I'd go to uni. I was like you. I was like, I know you went in because things like you had to drop out, but I didn't even go. I was too scared. I knew I would have found it all too much. And now at 40, 41 when I signed up, I'm like, yes, cool. I can get a degree in something that I really care about and I'm going to love. And I can use as well as a career and thrive and have the best
Yeah.
day-to-day lifestyle that I could dream of. So thank God for that. I just wish that adult education that I'm experiencing now could somehow be molded and shaped into something for kids. I don't know how it would look, but Open University to kids would be great. Some version of that, where they have to learn, some maths and some English as well within it, but it's really just the core of what you are really good at and what you care about and what you love. And then you put the other bits in as well, which is, things that we need.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, Gemma, I could talk to
Yeah.
you all day, and I'm realizing that that's probably what's going to happen if I don't wind this in. But I've loved this. I just had these most passionate chats with all of you guys, and it's been so beautiful and amazing to meet all of you. It's been wonderful. But just, I asked people at the end of the show if they could just give us sort of like a mini speech, no pressure, but for anybody that's listening, that's autistic or has ADHD or whatever, who are struggling with their experience of who they are and as a being, whether they're waiting for diagnosis or not, what would be your message? What would be your positive message to why us guys are awesome and it's all going to be okay? What would you say?
Um, yeah, it would definitely be that there's always hope out there. It can feel really lonely and isolating, and you can feel completely broken, but there's always going to be someone like you. Utilize every tool that's available to you. Go on Instagram, go on social media, go on podcasts, find someone that really resonates with you. There's so many people sharing now. You go in to find something. If you can't advocate for yourself, make sure you take someone with you to GP's appointments and make sure you get someone that can really listen to you, because it's easy to give up after the first hurdle of being rejected and feeling like there's no hope for me, there's nothing going to work. But again, keep looking, keep advocating for yourself, and know that you will get there. It takes, even if it does take a long time, find your crowd and find the people that can really love and support you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just to add to that, if you're waiting and you've been on a waiting list for a while, but you know deep down that you're neurodivergent, don't wait. Go and check out those groups, learn all you can, start putting things in place for yourself. You know what your truth is. Just listen. The diagnosis will be great. When you get it, you're like, cool, right? But if you believe you have it, believe it and go and find your crowd. And if we learn anything from Gemma today, she has created a space with the Welsh Speaker podcast that there'll be somewhere out there that resonates with you, that feels safe, that feels comfortable. It's your people. And Gemma's an example of that. She's created a place for those people that want to hear it in the Welsh language. So that's an example. So you may listen to this, go, I'm not too sure about this Owen guy. Cool. This is a different podcast with a different host, and that's the key, and I've got loads of podcasts I listen to and I feel very safe and comfortable just listening because they feel like the kind of person I'd like to go out with and go for a short drink before I burn out. Not too long. But I'm really inspired by you, Gemma, what you're doing there. You're finding a way to get your message out and reach a population that really matters. Because within the neurodivergent community, we have many little communities, don't we? But
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, I can sit down with any neurodivergent person like you and just really bond, really vibe with. And it's because we struggle, we're not ashamed of it, we own it, but we know how to take care of ourselves. Slowly but surely we're getting there. And I think that's really, really special. So I just want to thank you so much for being on the show, for sharing your story, being so passionate about things, and doing the good work that NDers do out there. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Gemma. So yeah, I'll put all the links to everything you're up to down below for Instagram and things like that. So yeah, I love what you're doing over there. I love the videos. It's really authentic and real. And that's all we can ask for. So links are in the description, everybody. If you know anybody who has a story to tell in regard to neurodivergence, send them my way. I want to speak to people from all walks of life, not just Welsh, not just English. I'm looking for Americans, Canadians, Australians, even people in Europe. So send them my way if they feel comfortable. And if you know a coach, if you're working with a coach and you think they're amazing, send them my way. I've interviewed loads already and they're fantastic. So I want more people like Gemma on the show, fighting the good fight, because that's what we're here to do. And it's just been an amazing journey so far. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. You're all amazing. I'm terrified of my first bit of rejection. It's not happened yet. Someone's going to be mean to me at some point. I'm ready because my community will hold me and give me a cwtch. It's a bit keep it Welsh and make sure I'm okay. But yeah, come and support everybody that's involved in this community. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.